Hello, hello. I'm Prey, short for Prerna, also known as the girl inside Traveler's Shoes, and this is Yours Curiously, where I bring in some of my favorite people, get personal, and go deep on diverse interests, beliefs, and well, things you and I have probably wondered about at some point, and find out exactly what makes these people tick. And while we're doing that, entertain just a teeny bit of our curiosity at a time. The following conversation is the second part of the very insightful discussion with Pushpanjali Nair. I highly recommend you listen to the first part, which is the previous episode, before you dive into this episode. And if you have, let's just continue on and listen along. But first, I'd like to have a word with you about Don't Talk That Trash. Like what you hear? You love what I write. Don't Talk That Trash is my personal letter straight to your inbox. At the end of every month, I sit down on my desk, open my laptop, and write. There's just one catch: no editing. It contains raw thoughts on whatever occupies my mind at the moment, and quite a nice way to wrap up a month. Curious? You can get your own by visiting insidetravelershoes.com/subscribe. Don't Talk That Trash subscribers are also the first ones to know when I whip up something fun and receive cool bonuses from time to time. Psst. It's free and email only. So, what are you waiting for? Check out insidetravelershoes.com/subscribe. Again, insidetravelershoes.com/subscribe and read the very next one. Now, back to the episode. It does.
Kind of, right?
It's kind of like an amalgamation of everything.
Of everything, yeah. Balance.
Balance.
It's the key to everything, honestly.
Okay. What was I even gonna say? I was so engrossed in listening to everything that I completely forgot that,
I think that's a good sign, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad.
So I think, we should get into what do you offer in Oven Blitz for people? What do you make for people right now?
So, I think at the moment I'm just doing cakes and savory orders too, but it's basically I don't really have a strict menu. You contact me, you tell me what you want, you tell me your dietary restrictions, you tell me what kind of food you want, you tell me a dish you want, customize it to exactly how you want it, and all I ask is you give me the creative freedom. Give me the idea, give me the creative freedom, let me know, because I'm still establishing myself, right, as a chef. I'm still a rookie, I'm still learning, I still have a lot to learn, and I think these are the years I got to experiment as much as I can in all ways. And so basically right now how it's running is people contact me because I've I have a page, Ovenly Blitz, and even on my personal page, which hopefully won't be personal anymore, I put up stuff of what I make. So if somebody likes it, they reply to it, they contact me, they say, hey, are you taking orders? And then they tell me what they want, and then we work accordingly. So I don't have a fixed menu, but I am trained in Italian cuisine and pastry.
So
Mainly.
do you stick to these cuisines?
No, I don't. I don't stick to the cuisines at all. Like, you tell me what you want, I will do a trial. If I haven't made the dish before, I will do a trial first, and then I will tell you that, listen, I tried making it. If it isn't great, I'll tell you honestly, I still need some time to perfect so and so dish. Maybe right now is not the time to order. If you want something else that I'm already familiar with, then, because I don't believe in taking people's money for, not the best stuff. If you're going to pay me for something, I want to make sure that I'm at least giving you something that you're going to like, or even if you don't like it, I want to make you feel comfortable enough to reach out and tell me that, hey, this wasn't okay. Let's hope this doesn't happen next time, whatever it may be. So right now, that's all it's about. It's just people reaching out to me, telling me what they want, and me trying to make it for them in whatever way I can. Plus, it's really personal to me, and every time I'm cooking, even in my most frustrated zone, I'm super content, and it's my solace. And so I feel like adding my own personal touch to the food, I really hope people can feel the same when they eat it, when they taste it, and
Because you are giving a part
of who I am essentially. It is a part of who I am. It is a very raw, vulnerable thing for me. I feel like my food is the easiest way to get to know who I really am. If you, it sounds super complicated, but it's really not. If you can understand, you know how it is, right? You meet somebody, you converse with them, and you're like, oh, okay, I know this person now. Seems like I have a rough idea about who they are, but people have layers. People have different versions of themselves, right? I think my food is the most vulnerable version of myself because when I'm giving, let's say you are tasting something I've made for the first time, I feel so exposed. I feel so exposed, but at the same time, it's so exhilarating. Whatever your reaction is, negative, positive, just the fact that I can make you feel it, it makes me feel really good. It makes me feel, when it's a positive reaction, it makes me feel really content. When it's not a positive reaction, which definitely has happened, like so many trial and errors. When it's not a positive reaction, I've been like, oh, okay, figure out
learn
what was wrong
something.
with it. Yeah, learn something from it, which essentially is what you have to do. Like, you can't be cocky and arrogant, especially not in your beginning years. Like, you are a fresher, you're a beginner. This is the time for you to, you can't be perfect. You just can't. Like, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna, definitely, not everything you make's gonna be like, you're not gonna hit the ball out of the park every time you cook something. That's something that I think is really hard to understand also because people are so involved with approval that they forget that it's okay. It's okay for your dishes to go bad. It's okay for your dishes to go wrong here and there because you're learning. You're essentially going to taste it and you're going to know what was up with it. You're going to work on it. And my entire life, as I told you before this, right? My entire life has been trial and error. I think that's the concept that works the best for me. I don't know why, but it just works the best for me.
I think it's all, an experiment, and I think it helps you experiment. And even in, like you told,
Yeah,
in the primitive years when we are starting out, I think it's all about experimenting right now.
exactly. Exactly. I think as a generation, we're very hard on ourselves also to be perfect, to make it. What is it? Make what?
Exactly.
Make what? Like, I get it. You have ambitions, you have goals, and I do too. Like, I have pretty high ambitions, but I'm not going to give myself a hard time because it's taking a little longer than I would expect it to, or society would expect it to. I don't believe we have to live up to anything. Go at your own pace. Do what you need to do for yourself in that moment. Things will just find their way to you at one point. Like the way food worked with me, I was super derailed. Like, I was super demotivated, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in a very bad place in my life, and it found me. Like, it struck me at the right moment, and it helped me in a lot of ways. And I'm sure everyone has their versions of what food means to me. I'm sure you have your version, right? So let's hear some about that too. Like, your version of what traveling means to you.
Traveling means to be. But this podcast is supposed to be about you,
Only me.
Yeah, that's the whole point because,
Okay.
yeah, I'll probably have some, episodes which is just me
Okay,
solo
like
as an
later though.
outliner.
Later though.
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
I wanted it to be about you
About, okay, cool.
because, like, I have enough about me. I keep talking about me in my blog, and My website is basically about me. So this is one place I want to know about other people.
Other people.
And I want to give back in different ways and things that I might not know, but I can find someone who knows about it, and we can
Exactly.
talk about that.
Exactly.
And people
It's
might
sort
be
of-
as confused as me about it, and they might
Exactly.
be curious about it as well.
It's also sort of like educating yourself on different things, right? When you talk to somebody about something that they specialize in, about something that they have, vast knowledge about, or whatever it may be, you talk to someone that knows something and it's something that you aren't familiar with. It's always nice because you're learning from them. They're telling you what their work and their world and basically their life's like. And it sort of helps a lot because that helps you open your mind up to a lot of things. The diversity of it all, it also brings you together in a lot of ways, because although different careers are different and different people are, have different perceptions and different goals, there's always something tying them to each other, which
We
is
still have the same dreams,
the same passion, the same love for what you do, the same. Sometimes you
we
may
all want
just
connection as well.
exactly. Sometimes you may just meet someone who has almost the same purpose in life that you do, which I think it's gorgeous. I think by itself is so nice to learn about everyone else and other people, and especially topics I find fascinating. Um, I I absolutely love listening to people tell me or educate me on things that I'm not aware of. So I think that's the whole purpose of this, right? That's the whole purpose of what you're doing right now. I think it's really nice, and I think by the end of all this, you're going to be so happy.
Thank you. Maybe I'll listen to it sometime in the future and be like, hey, I actually did this. I was
Yeah.
nervous, and maybe I can live through the experience when I hear my voice and the other person's voice.
Yeah, and sort of feel the way you felt in that moment. It's a very strong thing. It can transport you back in time. It can make you feel things you felt in that moment, and I think it's very intimate. Having a conversation with someone about the things that make you who you are. It is very personal. It's very intimate, and it's beautiful to know that everyone has their own story because can you hear that? I mean, yeah, I think
Everyone has their own story.
yeah, that's the lizard agreeing with us. What's up, Mr. Morrison? Because Jim Morrison, Lizard King. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. That just-
I love deviating off topic and meandering, but this is way too out there. It's like, taking a rocket to space.
I just went rock music on you guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so tell me more about what you have in store in the future.
So, I am going to start my second business and my second establishment. It's called House of Drip. So it's basically a line of sauces, like gourmet sauces and jams. So I'm going to start with three very simple sauces, which I feel. So you know how it is, right? A lot of people don't want to go through the pain of slow cooking anything. And Italian sauces are best slow cooked. So what I want to do is, and plus I love making sauces. It's my happy thing, just like, with one glass of wine in my hand and just like stirring the sauce and listening to some good music. So my plan is to make three sauces. One is a marinara sauce, which is a red sauce. One is a pesto sauce.
What
and
is marinara though?
It's essentially tomatoes, garlic, and basil, cooked in red wine if you want. But I'm thinking of keeping it alcohol free because a lot of people prefer, not having alcohol in their food or Essentially, though, it's supposed to be with wine, so I'm gonna have to figure that one out.
Maybe you can have two
I can
options.
have two options, yeah. So I can probably have a kosher option and one with red wine. It's essentially just a tomato, basil, and garlic sauce with some red wine. It's really, you've had red sauce pasta, right?
Yeah.
So like spaghetti and stuff. It's spaghetti. The red sauce that you use, it's the base sauce for almost everything. It's also the base pizza sauce that you use. So I think marinara would be a really good option because a lot of people just want to take 2 spoons of something and mix, like, boil some pasta and like mix it in and just grate some cheese on it and eat it. And it's a quick gourmet meal in your home. So, and it's all homemade. I mean, initially at least I intend for it to be homemade. So it is going to be marinara sauce, pesto sauce, and Sichuan pepper sauce. Or as we're in India, the Indo-Chinese version is Szechuan sauce. But I'm going to do it with like authentic Sichuan peppers and not the red chilies that people use here, because I want to kind of maintain authenticity. Authenticity, what the hell? Okay, authenticity of the dish. So I'm also going to do 2 jams. I want to keep it really simple to begin with. So I'm going to do just 2 jams. So one jam which is going to be a little citrusy with maybe a mango undertone. So that will be orange, lemon, and mango. And another jam that will be a mix of all the berries. But it will be more of a compote than a jam. So it'll be chunky jam. So you can literally taste the fruit in your jam. And I think that's nice, right? Just imagine spreading that on like a nice, soft, buttered down pancake or waffles, or even just, to be very honest, just like dosa. Dosa with jam.
I'm having food gasms right now. It's
Yeah, so that's
like,
House of Drip should be launching soon. Um, Again, before you asked me how I came up with the name, I don't even know. It just struck me one moment and I was like, oh, okay. I think I was thinking about I was listening to some music, I don't even remember, some music that was completely out of my comfort zone. And I think I heard the word drip a lot. And I was like, what the hell is a drip? Like, I was like, what are you guys talking about? And then I realized, I don't know, it just came to my head. I was sitting, so you know Abhi, right? So I was sitting, Abhi and I were going to buy some food because we were going to cook at his place. And I was sitting on the bike behind him and it just struck me. I was like, House of Drip. So I leaned forward and I was like, hey, bro, like, what do you think of this name? And he was writing and he's like, that actually sounds pretty good. And I was like, cool. So that's how it stuck. It just stuck. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be House of Drip gourmet sauces. And yeah, that's about it for me. Say short-term goal wise. Yeah, this pandemic has taught us that you really gotta focus on your short-term goals too, because you make all these plans for 10 years down the line. You never know.
what
You
might
never
hit
know. You never know what may hit you. So make short-term goals, make weekly goals, make monthly goals and just strive to get to them. That gives your life purpose, don't you think?
even like, living in the moment right now, just enjoying the nice vibe we have going
Right?
on here, right?
The walls painted so beautifully. My brother did these paintings, by the way.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. And the lighting, all of it. And plus,
And the cold climate of
can
the
you see
winter.
the dewdrops settling on top?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think living in the moment is just so, it's a lot more, it's a lot deeper than you actually give. Sorry, it means a lot more than you think it does, because it's these tiny moments and it's these tiny situations or these places that you're in that maybe someday you're just doing something, it's going to strike you and be like, wow, remember when I did that? That was nice. And if this pandemic has taught us anything, it is to value what you have, the time you have, the people you have, and the life you have. Just live, just live. Live for today, live for tomorrow, for the next week, for the next month. Focus on what you want to do here and now. It's great to have long term goals. I have a ton, but it's not the best to live in the future constantly. Live in the moment too, you know? I think that essentially makes all of us a little happier because when you're in the moment, you kind of forego or you overlook a lot of struggles that you may have faced in the past or things that make you anxious for the future. The future, I'm someone who gets very anxious at the thought of the future. Or I used to be. I'm a lot better now. I'm doing a lot better. As I said, my life has taken a turn for the better over the past 1.5 to 2 years. So after I started Hourly Blitz, everything that was toxic in my life just disappeared. Almost everything that was toxic in my life just disappeared. And I took some time for myself and, I focused on what I wanted to do. And I'm in a really, really happy, healthy place. You know, I'm in an amazing relationship with an amazing person. And I think he has been a really big motivator in all of this. And, it's nice to be at this place. It's nice to be at a place where I'm at peace with who I am. I'm at peace with what I want to do, and I know what I want to do. And I love the people around me, and the people around me love me back. It's a great place to be in. And obviously, it's not always going to be this perfect and rosy. I'm probably not going to feel this way tomorrow. Maybe I'm going to wake up in a really terrible mood and, for the next couple of hours be in a bad mood. But I will never forget that these things will always bring joy to me, and it will always fulfill my life, and it will always bring me positivity and happiness. And I think these are the few things I hold really near and dear to me. And of course, you've met my babies, my doggies. They're everything to me. Theo's my son, by the way.
Yes, very, very jumpy and excited
I'm
all
a
the
dog
time.
mom. I'm such a dog mom. So yeah, you could say he's the light of my life in a lot of ways. He's just my best friend. Yeah.
So, how do you find the process of cooking? How is it for you?
Therapeutic. It transports. So there are all these small fragrances. Just maybe, for example, for me, the smell of frying or sauteing onions and ginger and garlic reminds me of my grandmom because that
Lot
was
of
the most dominant smell in her kitchen when I was growing up. And I think a lot of these combinations, right, of spices, the way they smell, the way they taste, all of it, just it makes me so happy because it's like this process. It's like you're molding something from scratch, which is why even when I'm making if I let's say I'm making a pizza or burgers or like anything, whatever I'm making, I prefer making everything from scratch, including my pasta dough. So I usually make my pasta dough, cut it out, and use it. So it's everything that you order from me that is Italian. Anything, so everything like from your lasagna sheets to your spaghetti to all your different kinds of pasta, all of it is handmade. So I try my best not to bite off more than I can chew and keep it a little simple considering I'm still a beginner, still learning. Hand rolling pasta is it's the most therapeutic thing. It's happiness because I'm making it from scratch. And you look down at your countertop, your kitchen countertop, and you see the marble just clean, right? Before you start. You just look at it and it's just spick and span and it's clean and it's just empty. Observe it 5 minutes into cooking. It's just, other people may see a mess. To me, I see different colors on the surface. I see like whatever I'm working with, I see different colors, and that kind of when I was working at the restaurant, it kind of gave me a lot of ideas for plating. So I like modern art a lot. I know a lot of people say they don't understand modern art, and throwing a paintbrush at a wall is an art. And I don't mean to be. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything because everyone is entitled to their own opinion, right? But to me, I love modern art, and that's what it is for me. Like plating something, I want to be different with it. And when I see colors as I'm cooking, it's sort of my brain takes a picture of it. And believe me when I say this, I don't plan at all. I don't plan my plating at all. In fact, I don't even feel like I'm the one who's doing my plating because it just takes over me. Like my creativity just overrides everything else, and I don't feel in control of my body. I'm just doing it. And I look at the end result and I was like, I'm always like, oh, okay, this is what it is. I had no image in my head. It's just, I picked up on colors and I figured out what I wanted to do with it. So the whole process of cooking, as I said, it's therapeutic. It has taught me patience. It's taught me to really value the most minute detail in food. Just the way you cut a vegetable, right? It matters so much. It matters in so many ways, and it can make or break your dish. And I think it's great how delicate it is. I love working with something that delicate, and I love the whole process of plating as well. Like it gives me creative freedom. And
So, in what way do you think, cutting it, different ways of cutting vegetable matter?
so obviously when you cut it, and so let's say I'm doing a small cut, right? So I mean, I won't use like proper terms because I'll have to sit and explain all of it and all that. So let's say I'm making a fine chop, right? The way it cooks will be a lot faster, considering the cooking time is going to be a certain amount of time because other stuff in it also needs to cook with it, right? So that could almost just turn into a sauce by itself. And the fiber and everything, it just merges into your dish, and you won't even know that is in it until you taste it. But when you're cutting, let's say, slices or whatever,
You can use the, formal terms and, explain it. It'll be,
is
people would love knowing,
okay.
the
So
actual terms for it, I guess.
so for example, like let's say I am what okay, I can give you ratatouille. Have you heard of the dish ratatouille? So
Movie.
yeah, the movie. Oh my god, so cute. That movie is so cute. But just saying, if there's a rat in your chef's hat, no,
Yeah, that's true.
no,
Even if it's roaming around, next
just
to the kitchen. No.
get the place fumigated as soon as you can. Maybe set a rat trap and release it out somewhere else. Don't kill it. Please don't kill it. Just scare it so it goes away. But yeah. No, I think, for example, cutting a vegetable. Okay, I'll give you an example of, let's say, a potato. So, cutting a potato in the French fry way, which is called the bâtonnet. The bâtonnet cut is the French fry cut, right? Versus mashed potatoes. Do you see the difference in texture? Like how vastly different the two are? That's merely because of the way they're cooked and the way they're cut. Because mashed potatoes are shredded, right? It's boiled and shredded. This is cut into the bâtonnet cut, and it's deep fried, and it's double deep fried. So it gives like crispiness. Just the way it's cooked and the way it's cut, the way the fibers stay together and the starch like stays together versus when you break it down, I think that makes all the difference in the world. That's what makes you tell dishes apart, to be honest. That's one of the main reasons. Like for example, a gazpacho is a cold Spanish dish. It's a soup, right? It is essentially bell peppers and cucumber that is blended together. Sounds weird, tastes amazing. So it is you won't even realize that these were actual vegetables, you know? You won't even know that these are actual vegetables because you cook it in a way where the fiber blends into the liquid and it's basically just a thick soup. So, yeah, that's how cutting and cooking makes a very big difference in taste and also partially in your nutrition intake. Because when you boil something with starch, the starch rises to the top of the water, right? For example, rice too. So it rises to the top, at least back in the day. Now we have different methods of cooking, as times have evolved. But when the layer forms on top, that layer is usually called the scum. You take it off, that's all the extra starch. And in other cases, like soups and broths, the layer that's formed on top, that's a little bit foamy-ish, you got to get rid of all that because that's all the extra starch and nutrients, not nutrients, but all the extra starch and all the composition of the skin of the vegetables that come out that you need to like dispose of. So yeah, that's how it makes a difference.
I think, these small things, and add up to all these
Yeah.
kind of very, very different taste
Yeah,
in
and
the end.
a lot of people don't even realize that the way salsa is made, essentially you have to boil the tomato. I mean, not boil really, blanch, hot water blanch the tomato,
What
peel
is
the
blanch
skin.
it?
So you just dip it in for a minute or two until the skin gets a little wrinkly. So it's easier for you to peel the skin off. So you peel the skin off, you chop it in like half, you chop it into like a moon, half moon, a crescent. You remove the seeds, you leave the pulp. You're not supposed to use the skin, you're not supposed to use the seeds. Essentially. For even your sauces, you're not supposed to use them. But people just forego all of it and just like chop and, do their thing. But the smallest things make the biggest difference. And that's why a lot of people think that, oh, we'd rather go to a restaurant and pay, this much amount of food than like making it. I'm not going to be able to make it myself. I want to go out and eat. Actually, no. You follow a recipe to the T. Depends also if you have like the natural ability to, whatever recipe may be, you have to have that innate ability to cook or that innate passion and that like judgment of, quantity. Because I find it really hard to stick exactly to a recipe. The only place I do that is probably when I'm baking. But even when I'm baking, I prefer, mixing and matching and trying my own stuff until I get the right. The recipe I have now, I tried different stuff for a year. Like I just kept trying and trying and trying until I found this batch, like this recipe, the batch that I made. After that batch, I was like, okay, I found it. This is it. I'm going to stick to this.
I think everything in life is experimenting and,
Trial and error, right? Like,
Yeah.
as I said, my entire life has been trial and error.
For me, I love cooking when, sometimes. But, when it becomes like a chore, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to, stick to it and actually enjoy the process. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have, the same kind of problem with cooking. So,
Definitely.
how do you think we can make cooking more enjoyable?
How can we make cooking more enjoyable?
Take your time.
I mean, that's a really tough one because I'll have to think as a person who doesn't enjoy cooking.
That's what. Take your time.
How do I make cooking more enjoyable? I can tell you what would work for me. It would definitely be listening to some nice music. I think when I'm cooking, even now, right? If I get an order, when I'm home, I'll play my own music in the background and, like dance around and do things like at my own pace. I think cooking becomes a chore only if you feel like it's an obligation. If you feel like you're obliged to cook, that's when you start to think of it as a chore and not something you really like to do. And obviously, it's hard to like keep cooking 3 meals a day, you know.
That's also
It does become like a chore after a certain point. So, yeah. But I think music and
I found that, cooking together really helps. It's
definitely,
such a nice activity. Like
definitely,
everyone comes together in the kitchen and, lends a hand.
definitely. Like for me, I'm very, I'm very, how do I say? I'm extremely, I like isolating myself in the kitchen. So if I'm working, even if I'm working, like let's say when I was working at Miss and Mrs., and I would still just be at my station thinking about my own thing, you know. Everything else would be happening behind me and around me, but I was just locked into that world. And for me, I love it because it's just me and my food. I find it really hard at home. I mean, see, professionally, I can share a kitchen, though. Like I have to need help, right? But at home, I find it really hard to share a kitchen. I'm okay with only a few people that kind of have figured out the way I work. They figure out what I'm like in the kitchen and they sort of blend into it, you know. It's a wave movement. So I move and they just go with it, you know.
So I
It's
think it's kind of like to each their own kind of.
yeah, yeah. But it's very hard. You got to find out what works for you. You got to find out what makes you feel like you're keeping it interesting. And yeah, plus, once, honestly though, I think experimentation of different food, find food that excites you. Okay, it can be simple food also. Find something, a dish or a type of cuisine that excites you, that will pump you up a little bit. And grocery shopping is my favorite thing to do. Oh my god, I love supermarkets. I love markets. I love farmers markets.
What do you love about it?
Everything. The smell, people find it strange, but the smell of a farmer's market is amazing. I can smell so many different fruits and vegetables and so many different things and like random hints of like here and there, random hints of like rotting vegetables and fruits too, you know. But somehow it again, I used to go shopping with my grandmom, marketing with my grandmom when I was really young.
Sabji mandi.
Yeah, so it was Madiwala market for us because we stayed in Koramangala. So it basically is all these amazing childhood memories I have growing up, all these smells that were very distinct to me then, that I've developed a very strong affiliation to now. So I think that's what it is to me, you know. It's a lot deeper than just a career or just a profession or just what I want to do with my life. It is a part of who I am at this point, and I don't think I want to be anyone else. Like, finally, I feel like I've finally reached that point, and it feels good to be here.
I'm so glad to hear that, you have reached that point and, you feel comfortable in your own self.
I do. I definitely do. Obviously, thanks to everyone that's been supportive and, everyone that's encouraged me and everyone that stood by and watched me grow and been patient with me. Obviously, I owe it to everyone that cared and everyone that stayed by my side. My parents, my friends, all of them. My boyfriend too, like played a big role in getting my life in order now. But yeah, essentially, I have myself to thank for getting off my ass and doing what I want to do, figuring out what I want to do.
Yeah, we gotta stand up for ourselves.
Exactly.
Like, after one point, you're like, just get up and do this.
Just do this already, you know? Yeah.
So, so this is a question I ask at the end of, probably every conversation I have. What are some of your favorite books and, something that you'd recommend that people read? Something that you read and you felt like giving it to someone?
So growing up, I read a lot. Growing up, as in, like, I'm speaking about when I was like, from when I was like 8, 9. First I had stories read to me, and then when I started to read by myself, I was about like 8, 9, 10ish. I used to read a lot of Ruskin Bond, and then I moved to Enid Blyton. And then I moved. I loved the Secret Seven and Famous Five. The older I grew, my taste in books changed, and for a while here and there, I wasn't reading too much. But in, I think, 11th grade, there was this book that changed my entire life. It was given to me by a friend, and it's called The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. It's just a 27-page book, but it took me 4 months to really comprehend, break it down, and understand it. And I have spoken to only 4 other people that have read the book, and everyone that's told me that they've read it, when I've asked them what it meant to them, it's been completely different from what it meant to me. And so I feel like it's basically a philosophical book, right? And it helps you figure out a lot of things because it's just 27 pages, but it's 27 pages of eye-opening, mind-blowing concepts that you can perceive however you want. You know what? The last time I read this book was probably 4 years ago, and I was in a different headspace then. Now that you bring it up, I'm going to read it again and see if it's different now, considering I'm in a different place mentally.
I'm pretty sure it'll be.
I
And
suggest you should read it too. I'll try to find a copy because it was not my book, right? It's very hard to find a copy, but I can still send you the PDF. I have the PDF, so
Amazing.
we could do that. We can probably read it
And let
discuss.
me know, what you think about it right now. Like after you are
Yeah,
done with reading it
definitely.
later.
Definitely. Because I'm sure there will be a difference. I think your perception changes when you change, and your mentality and your headspace and the place you are in changes. And so when I read this book, it meant something different to me. When I read it now, it may just mean something different again. You never know. But I definitely want you to read it too. Other than that, I've recently started reading Haruki Murakami. A friend of mine gifted the book The Killing Commandor to me for my birthday, and it helped me get through the lockdown. It was one of the nicest gifts I've ever received, and yeah, I definitely recommend Murakami. Read Killing Commandor, Norwegian Wood, and when you're ready for it, please read Dose of Perception, Aldous Huxley. I will look for the PDF and I'll send it through to you. If people want to, if anyone reaches out and wants to read it, you can circulate, because I think it's something that helped me. Hopefully, it helps other people too.
Yes, I think I'll put a link to it in the
Yeah,
show notes.
yeah, definitely.
Any other books that come to your mind?
For now, I think it's just this. But yeah, I used to read a lot of fiction too. My granddad loved Jeffrey Archer and Sidney Sheldon and Nora Roberts, so I've read a lot of their books as well. In fact, I think I've read and Khalid Hosseini. Kite Runner was such a beautiful book. The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. What else? You know what? Actually, reading Mein Kampf, the Hitler's autobiography.
It's always been on my list. I have to
You
get to
have
it.
to. You have to. In fact, you know what? I haven't read anything but Murakami in a year. So I think I'm going to take a break from Murakami for a bit and go back and read all these books. Thank you for asking me this question. It actually makes me miss reading, and I'm probably going to get back to it now, for a while.
I'm excited too. I've got new titles that I've got to check out.
Yes, definitely. I will look through my book collection and give you some. So maybe we can share notes and probably even discuss. I think I'd definitely be one of those people that goes to book clubs, later in life. Like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I gotta go to book club. Bye. Like, I'm definitely gonna be one of those people.
Maybe, we should plan a Blossoms date.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, Blossoms.
Oh yeah, for people who don't know what Blossoms is,
Please
it
go to
is-
Blossoms.
It is a second-hand bookstore in Bangalore. I think it's the biggest one in India.
Church Street.
It's on Church Street, and check it out.
Oh my God. So it's so personal because you'll find all these books with notes and, different things and sometimes like love letters in them. And it's amazing. I just love Blossoms. You guys have got to check out Blossoms. Honestly, just buy pre-owned books. Just buy pre-owned books. It's so much more personal and it adds so much more meaning to what you're reading. Definitely Blossoms. Check it out.
This was such we meandered so much off
So much.
topic
I
and
know.
on topic. It was
A roller coaster.
a roller coaster with the emotions and going through this journey with you.
Yeah,
I'm
having
so-
insight into what makes a person who they are, I guess.
I'm super glad that we had this conversation.
I'm so happy you reached out and asked me to do this. I'm so happy that you're here. And it's a beautiful night, and it's just been a really, really exhilarating, warm, nice, lovely conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Like always, links to everything we discussed and notes about the episode can be found in the show notes when you visit insidetravellershoes.com/yours-curiously. You can find Pushpanjali at the rate of Pushpanjali Nair, which is spelled as at the rate of PUSHPANJALINAIR on Instagram. Craving for more updates on the deliciousness she's cooking? You can find updates at the rate of avanly.blitz, which is spelled as OVENLY.BLITZ, and at the rate of house.off.drip.sauces on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to Yours Curiously wherever you listen to podcasts, and updates on Yours Curiously are posted at the rate of Yours Curiously Pod on Instagram and at the rate of In Travel Shoes on Twitter. And at last, don't forget to check out the super fun host's work, that is me, by visiting InsideTravellersShoes.com or at the rate of Inside Travelers Shoes on Instagram. Catch you next time, curious cats.